All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Mr. McLogan, and today is another live stream. So welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you guys recognize I was able to put a little bit of work finally into my room. It kind of looked really, really bad for a really, really long time, and I apologize for that. But yeah, I got some new things added up. I got my light. I guess it was just unplugged, the stay curious sign. And so I plugged that back in. I have my clock. I readjusted it. It was so awkward that the clock, there you go. The clock was never in the right position. It was always like partly out of the scope because I kept on changing my desk. So I was like, I got to move this thing. And then I got my letter from when I was in high school. I thought that was kind of like a educational based thing. So I thought that'd be cool. I have my little student ID, or it's not my student ID, my teacher ID actually up there. That is actually a hall pass from my school that I had. And then we got the cool gold play button, my trombone that I painted red, white, and blue to play with. And then what else do we got here? Oh, I have a nice little, oh, there it is. There it is. Subscribe button. And then I have my, let's see. Yeah, there you go. The silver play button going on from there. So cool stuff. All right. So let's go into any questions. I do have some. I am excited, guys. I know the school year is getting ready, and to be honest, I've been making a lot of videos, and I'm really, really excited to actually start getting into your guys' questions again. Because I'm going to let you guys know of some things that I really wasn't planning on going here, but I think I just want to let you guys know what kind of went on last year for me on my channel. Where is my thing? Did I close that down? Crap. And then you guys can know a little bit more what to expect from me on here. So I guess I closed that down. So hold on a second. I can't see any of your comments yet. So I can pull this up. There you go. All right. I'll get to it. But I'm going to start this off with something a little different. I want to give you guys a little bit of an update of, oh, actually I got a couple other things. Hold on. Let's go through this. Okay. So these are, no, right there. Those are some gifts actually from YouTube that I got. That's like a digital NFT. And then that was the Roblox bear. And then I have a trophy from me playing rugby when I played. And then also there's a stapler for any of you guys that are from, what is it called? What's that one movie? But the red stapler. It's always just a good joke, but that was my legit stapler that I used inside the classroom. If I can, it's not The Office Space. That's it. If you've not seen Office Space, great movie. You should check it out. Anyways, I'll get to your guys' questions in just a second. Keep adding them into the chat. But I want to let you guys know of a little bit of an update that I had from on there and from kind of where my headspace was. And so last year I had a property that I needed to redo, or basically tenants moved out and I had to fix it up. And it definitely like controlled over my life from there, which was good though, because what I have found is stepping away from the classroom and trying to do videos in this kind of atmosphere, it gets very boring. It gets very like the walls are like coming in on me. Like it's very difficult. So I wanted to like something to get out, something to be able to do. And I needed kind of like some direction, for what I really wanted to make of myself and my channel. And it was very difficult to kind of keep this channel up. So you guys can see, like, that's why I kind of slowed down even on my uploads. Obviously my kids have gotten older, so their time has been much more demanding. I always feel bad. I always feel guilty now when I do these live streams on Sunday, because now my kids are just sitting, just doing they're doing their quiet time, whatever else. But still, it's like, I want to be with my kids. I want to be able to enjoy them. And, sometimes you feel guilty when you're doing work away from them. But anyways, I'm excited to let you guys know that I don't have any construction going on this year. So I really am looking forward into diving deep. I'm not ready to release all my other good news that I'm going to be having, but let's see what weekend. Today is the 4th. I have next weekend. I probably will not be going live. And then the weekend after that is when I'm going to start letting you guys know some good stuff. So if you have any questions, if you have any math questions, I see TM4, I see your math question in there. Feel free to put it down into the, I'm going to try to see if I can get into my put it down in the chat. And then if you can put that down into the chat, then what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to make a video for you and be able to check it out from there. But I'm probably not going to be able to get to any math questions because that's going to be as part of one of my things I want to let you guys know of. Okay, so let's get into some questions that, hey, Araf, good to have you on. So good to see you on there. Here you go. Awesome. All the way from Thailand. I love it. Anybody been watching the Olympics? I've been really, every single year, I never followed the Olympics really that much. And then this year, for whatever reason, I have just seemed to like follow them the most. I don't know why. It's just been something I've been really like into this year. So, all right. There we go. Like that. Can you go proportionalities? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but feel free to let me know. Hey, Isabella, good to have you on. Hey, I want to let you know any tips on trig graphs. Guess what? I have some videos that are coming up, and yes, I do. I do have some tips on trig graphs. I think the main important thing you want to know or understand about trig graphs is how do the points on a graph on trig relate to the unit circle. If you can identify what the graph is going to look like based on points on the unit circle, you're going to be good to go. So I actually have a video I will be making this week on how to graph trigonometric functions fast. So I'll bring that one up to you. But as long as you know the basic points on the trigonometric graph based on the points on the unit circle, right? Remember, cosine is x, tangents y over x, sine is y. Then you can graph the parent function. And then the other thing is if you have transformations, then it just comes in a little bit knowing like how the different transformations react through any different function. It doesn't matter if it's a trig graph or a quadratic or a square root function. Just make sure you know your transformations. What did you get on the SAT? I actually do not remember. And fortunately, I think fortunately and unfortunately, the SAT was not as stressful. I didn't take it as seriously as I feel like a lot of students do nowadays. Obviously, you still had to take the SAT to get into a college. And like, I remember, I think I did not get into Michigan State University because my ACT score was not strong enough, but I don't recall what it was. I really don't. I do not recall what my SAT was. I didn't take them that seriously. I just wanted to get into a college and then be good with it. So like, I didn't really care. I mean, I do remember being disappointed I didn't get into Michigan State, but I had an opportunity to retake the SAT and ACT and I didn't do it. I just took them once and I was like done with it. And I got accepted into a college that I was like my second pick. And I was good with it. So, you know, I don't know. I also don't really love the SAT, ACTs as a measurement of somebody's capability, of their success or their worth. You know, I mean, I do think it is good to have a measurement system. And I think the SAT and ACT are good for that. But I also don't like the amount of weight that we put on them, or at least the amount of weight, perceived weight that people give to them. I'm about to go to the SAT. Could you go over some geometry? I would not be the best channel to be able to go over some geometry for you on the SAT. Not saying I can't do some geometry and SAT tricks. I just, as I mentioned in the last comment, I'm just not very focused on SAT, ACT prep. There's a lot of channels that focus exactly on that. I will be having some more videos coming out on SAT, ACT problems, but it's just not my biggest concern for my channel, for wanting people to be successful. I want people to learn how to be successful with math, learn how to think, learn how to overcome their struggles. I'm not really so concerned about them trying to ace a test, because I think you can still be successful with or without that test. Unfortunately, I do not have any tips for the GCSE. Go ahead and submit that to brianmclogan.com/Q&A if you don't mind. I would love to be able to take a look at that one. You better not be spamming me now. Dividing exponents. Where is that? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, if you have a question, go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. That'd be the best place to be able to put in a math question. I'm nice. I'm well. I'm listening. LOL. Did I do a good job? You did, John. Good job. So just remember, when you're dividing exponents, you just subtract the powers. So dividing exponents, just go ahead and subtract the powers. I'm a bit confused at the signs, I'm assuming, of trigonometric functions. The problem is that I'm not able to understand cotangent, changes to tan, etc. Yeah, so that's just going to be transformation. So, you know, like if you look at a cotangent graph and you look at a tangent graph, one thing you obviously need to know is there needs to be a reflection about the about the y-axis. That is going to flip the graph, that orientation over there. And then also you see once you flip it about the y-axis, you see there has to be a shift, right? And so you need to be able to, if you take the tangent graph or cotangent graph and you flip it about the y-axis, then you're going to need to shift it, pi halves to the right, I believe. So just go ahead and write that out. And then it really just kind of comes into being able to shift those out. But if you want to go ahead and submit your question, I will make a video on it. I promise. Tips for the SAT, please. So I'm actually so honored. There was a video on Alex Hormozy that I watched, a short, and obviously he did not get his advice from me, but it's something I've been saying. And I really like, Alex Hormozy, a lot of his like business stuff that he is, content he's made. I think he's done a really good job. But one thing he's talked about was him getting into Harvard. And the one thing he did, and the one advice that he, explains in his short, was he did as many practice problems as possible. And I'm like, that's exactly what I say. And dang, I don't have the following that he does, but it's the exact same thing. Yes, I would just find as many SAT books, prep books as you can possibly get your hands on, and do as many problems as you possibly can until your test. That's what he said. He said he would spend like 4 hours. I mean, probably a little crazy, of just doing practice problems. And he's like, I didn't really know how to do things, but I did. But I learned how they asked questions. I learned what they were looking for, what they wanted from me. And that's how I became a better test taker. Because in the end, the SAT guys, you're just playing a game. That's all you're doing. You're playing a game. So if you want to play the game, get the best. If you want to play the game, then get as prepared as you can. And the best way to be prepared is to do as many practice problems as possible. Clean and simple. Thank you for everything. Should I take introductory to discrete mathematics before, during, or after calculus? Or else, when is a good level of knowledge to have going into that course type? I mean, I don't really know much about the course, like description. Discrete mathematics is going to vary if you're taking it at a high school level, a college level, or even university, like depending on where it is and what it's about. So I would definitely speak with your guidance counselor. In general, I would say as a broad base, which I usually don't like giving advice on this, I would say you could take discrete mathematics before a calculus course, or you could take it during or same. It's not really going to impact as much. It's not going to be dependent on your knowledge of calculus. Typically. And so I think you'd be fine taking it whenever you feel like you have enough time to support, that workload. I've taken multiple math courses in a same semester, and it can be a lot, right? Depending on what course you are taking. So, in that way, I don't think it's going to matter as much, but I would highly recommend speaking to your math professors, your counselors, your parents, making sure that you get that kind of trifecta. Don't just rely on some guy on YouTube. Cool. I agree with you, Mr. McLogan. I enjoy watching your YouTube video. It's my birthday today. Well, happy birthday, Michael. That is awesome. Congratulations on having another birthday. I don't know why I said congratulations. It just kind of rolled off my tongue so naturally, but happy birthday. Do you post inverse of equations? I've only found inverse of functions. Is that the same thing? Yes. I mean, obviously not all equations are functions, and but all functions you'd say is in equations. So, yes. But yeah, just because as an inverse of an equation, it doesn't mean it's always going to be a function. But yeah, I would use inverse of functions, not equations. I'm preparing to go into Calc 2 this fall after taking Calc 1 over the summer. I'm wondering on what pre-calc and algebra concepts I should refresh myself on before the start of the semester. I mean, you already went through Calc 1, so you've already got exposed to what pre-calc and algebra 2 stuff you need. And so I would just continue on with that stuff. Like if obviously I don't know the exact frame of what you're going to be learning in Calc 2 and what you exactly went over with your Calc 1, but just going over the generalities of those two courses, like you've already been exposed to that stuff. Like So I would just continually review most of the stuff from your Calc 1. And if you see some algebra from Calc 1 or some Trig and, whatever's from PreCalc, then just refresh yourself, go over that content again. But I wouldn't concern myself with going back to the PreCalculus and Algebra 2, courses. There's obviously some stuff in Calc 2 there's obviously some stuff that Calc 2 will bring up that maybe your Calc 1 did not expose you from, but I think your professor or your teacher will have enough time to give you a review of that. I wouldn't overwhelm myself trying to figure out exactly everything that I need. I would just make sure I have a solid Calc 1 foundation and the algebra and trig from there. And then you're going to be set up best for Calc 2, at least in my opinion. Because there's some stuff like sequences and series I was thinking of, or maybe even some, some conic sections. It all depends, because I don't know what everybody's gone through on PreCalculus or what they were taught in Algebra 2. So there's always going to be topics that are missing that maybe somebody in one class was taught and maybe in another course they weren't taught. So it's the teacher or professor's job to make sure that everybody's at the same pace or page to be able to learn the stuff they're learning, right? So I don't know enough to know exactly what you've learned, what you don't learn, and what you should focus on. But I would say focus on what you have already learned in that Calc 1 class to make sure you have a good foundation going into Calc 2. Regardless of what your grade was, go back, review all that stuff again. Tips to solve physics numericals. No, I don't have any tips. Sorry about that. Yes, that's always a great tip. All right, so all that is going to be cotangent. X plus 270 is basically just going to be 270 degrees. So that's going to be a shift to the right. So what you need to understand is on your x-axis, that is going to be a line, but the tick marks, I guess you say, are going to be angles, right? So angles are round. You could think about that on like the unit circle. So rather than using radians, in this example, you're using degrees. So just every tick mark, just go off of, let's say, go by 90 degrees. So you'd have 90, 180, 270. So cotangent is going to have an x-intercept, I believe, at 90 degrees. So you have to, actually, it's going to make you shift left 270 degrees, right? So then you'd go 3 tick marks, because each tick mark is 90 degrees. You go 3 tick marks to the left. So take the x-axis and set it at 90-degree increments for every tick mark. And then you're just going to be shifting left 270. Just like if that was a quadratic and that was x plus 2, you would shift it left 2 units, right? But every tick mark is being on an integer of 1. Well, for trigonometric functions, the x-axis represents the angle. And in this case, you're going to be using angles in degrees. Hopefully that is helpful without me actually typing something up. Is Algebra 2 hard? I'm taking it next year and I'm scared it's going to be hard. Well, guess what? If you're scared it's going to be hard, then guess what it's going to be? It's going to be hard. And just because you think it's going to be easy doesn't mean it's always going to be easy as well. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say to you. But what I'm trying to say to you is the mindset that you put towards a course is what you're telling your brain to believe. And I don't want you to believe that Algebra 2 is going to be hard. I want you to believe that Algebra 2 could be hard. It could be hard for you. It's going to require some work, but you are going to do your absolute best at it. If you are going to struggle, you're going to get help. If you are going to have questions, you're going to ask. That is all I can ask of you. And hopefully your teachers and your parents can ask of you, because is it hard is a relative question. It's going to be hard for some students. It's going to be easy for some students. It might be hard for a chapter and it might be easy in the next chapter. It might be hard now, but it's going to be easy in 2 weeks. It's a relative question. So don't focus on if it's hard or not. Focus on what you can be able to do and put in the work to do it. Best of luck. Tips for higher algebra. I'm not sure what you mean for that, but if you want to add on to that, then go for it. I love modulus functions. It's been a lot. I haven't done them since college, so I would have to go back and review a textbook, but I don't have any. Yeah, it's been a long time since I did those. Hi, any tips for pre-calc in 9th grade? Just do all the work. Guys, it's simple. Do all the work. Ask questions. If you struggle, get help, right? If you don't know how to do something, ask. Like, just take one foot in front of the other and do everything that your teacher is asking of you. That is the best and only thing I can ask from you. Pre-calculus ninth grade, that's, going to be fast paced. Some students I'd say, oh, that's too hard for you. Some students I'm like, man, you're putting in a lot of work. You have a good foundation of mathematics. Like, you're going to be fine. So, just do the best you can do. And if you start to struggle, get help. And if it's overwhelming, then talk with your teacher, talk with your parents, and make sure it's the right fit for you. It's not a race, right? You have plenty of time to be able to take pre-calculus from on there. So you're going to be okay. Just keep on working forward it. And if it gets a little bit to be too much, then just seek out the correct help. How many months should I start studying prior to my AP Calc AB exam? So it's been a couple years since I taught AB. But one thing that I remember that was kind of like my rule is, and obviously in Florida, we start teaching in August, so it's a lot earlier than, some other states. But my kind of role was like, I want to teach as much stuff as I possibly can, usually even get all the way up to integration by like the end of the year, right? So then we're going to have this nice winter break. Then after winter break, I still obviously am going to have a lot of stuff we still need to teach, after that. Of course, we're not, even if we're getting through integration or up to integration, I can't even remember where I was at. But even if I'm getting to that at break, I don't want students to be focused on doing test prep or anything else. I just want them to be focused on learning the basics, because obviously the derivative and integration, those are like the basics of calculus, right? And so if my students have a strong foundation and we're good up to that point, then after that, once we're learning like the additional topics in calculus, but then I'm also going to start weaving in the test prep. And I would say that from you too, like when you are doing test prep, you got to have a certain level of foundation before you can even start doing the practice tests. Because obviously the practice tests are going to have problems that you don't know how to do because they haven't been taught yet, right? So, but I think once you've gone up to covered enough information from, from the beginning of school year to the end of the calendar year, like into winter break, then you've at least covered enough stuff where you can start doing some practice tests. You can start doing some free response and some FRQs. So I would probably say start then. But again, I would say dabbling in test prep. I really think, for the AP exam, I'd probably say anywhere from 45 to 60 days. You really want to kind of start really being serious about your test prep. And then obviously you just ramp things up harder, more and more and more as you get closer and closer to the test date. But I have a whole bunch of videos on test prep and stuff like that hopefully that will be helpful as well. All right, I'm taking 4 APs my sophomore year. Wow, AP Bio, AP Calc, BC, AP Stat, and AP World. I heard some not so great stuff about my teachers. Is there a good place to self-study for math? I got you. Well, I don't have a lot of BC content, so I might not be the best person for BC, but obviously the amount of your workload is, you obviously have a strong foundation, academic foundation. So I'm assuming you putting this on yourself, not reluctantly, but self putting this on yourself, you feel confident in your abilities. So I'm not going to judge you on there. I'm not going to, say, I'm assuming you've already gone through the steps, spoken with your parents, your teachers, your counselors. This is the right curriculum for you. Okay. And so I don't have any great things for self-study from on there, but I just want to make sure you're having a healthy relationship with your studies. And if things start to become too overwhelming, just remember that education is not a race. Make sure you're able to focus on the courses that are the most important. And if you need to take one over the summer, if you need to take one online, if you need to take one next year, you have that ability from on there. So put in the work. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of fast pace, but try to enjoy yourself. And if you feel like you're not enjoying yourself, then you might have bitten off too much to chew. And I've had those conferences. I've had those parent conferences before with students that have taken 4 APs. And it's a lot. It can be stressful. But I don't want to discourage you because I have no idea about your academic standing and where you're at, especially as a sophomore taking those 4 classes. You're obviously more advanced, I would say, than the typical student. So this might be something that is very, very natural or normal for you to be able to take in. I don't know enough about you to put my opinion on it. So I don't want you to feel like I am giving an opinion one way or the other. But put in the work. If you don't feel like you're getting great support from your teachers, then, I don't know. I know there's a lot of great people on YouTube that teach a lot, from those courses or have support from there. That might be something from on there. But I also feel like, for these courses, you do want good support. You do want to feel like you're a part of a community and stuff like that. So if you're not able to find those outside of online or something like that, then maybe have that conversation, of like, what are some alternative ways you can still get the credit or still take those courses for the credit. Huh. Hello, sir. How are you? I was wondering if you have any tips on how do you solve systematic equations? Yeah. Well, I'm not really sure if you're talking about with graphing or anything else, but I can definitely say if we're going to do like a system of linear equations, you didn't elaborate, so I'm assuming that is. Um, I'll say that if a variable is already solved, I'm going to do substitution. If a variable is not already isolated or it doesn't have a 1, then I'm typically just going to do elimination. So if it has a coefficient of 1 or it's isolated already, I'm doing substitution. If not, I'm typically going to do elimination. That's usually my simple and easiest tip that I follow. Crusader. That's an interesting thing. Hey, Miss McLogan, I love your videos and I listen to you a lot. I'm a sophomore and I'm going to be testing out of Algebra 3-4. Don't know what that is. Where do you think I should best be self-studying for Algebra 3-4? Crap, I don't know Algebra 3-4. Sorry, I don't have that curriculum, so I don't have good advice for you on there. So I would just go through the syllabus, look through what the topics are, do a YouTube search or a Google search or something, find somebody that has content on those and then do some self-study. Hopefully you should actually have a textbook that maybe you should be able to do some self-study on. I'm assuming that would be the best because I'm not familiar with Algebra 3-4. So having a textbook or having a curriculum to follow and then using maybe some online courses or some YouTube tutorials to help support some of that instruction would probably be best. How do you start complex numbers? I'm not sure. Well, you could do like the introduction of complex numbers, like where does the imaginary unit come from? And then understanding how to graph complex numbers and then how to use complex numbers with algebraic operations. That's probably what I would do. So anyways, thank you guys for joining me on this Wednesday. Hopefully you guys like my new background on there. And I will look forward to joining back on, being consistent on my Sunday afternoon live streams with you guys and answering more of your questions. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Cheers.